For this last lesson in Chapter 5, we're going to be looking at Law of Cosines. Law of Cosines is used to help us find pieces of information about a triangle when we cannot use the law of sines. You'll notice the three formulas on the screen. Pay attention to the pattern. Especially you'll see that the side that we're looking for on the left side of the equation has the opposite angle on the right side for cosine. So if you have a squared that you're solving for on the left, you'll notice that cosine A, the opposite angle, is used on the right. So let's go ahead and try a couple problems. The first one is solving this triangle given this piece of information. So the first thing we're going to do is to take this, and since we're given angle A, then we're going to have to solve for a squared. That would be the corresponding side. So a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of that angle A. So filling in what we know, we're given b and c, and we're given a, so that makes it pretty simple. 9 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 9 times 5 cosine of 120. Remember, when you're punching this in on the calculator, make sure to close your parentheses just in case. You should be able to punch this in straight across the calculator. It understands order of operations, should be able to handle it for you. Make sure once you get this number, a squared, it equals 151, and then you have to take the square root to get to a, so you take the square root of 151, and the answer is going to be 12.28, which will round up to 12.3. So a is equal to 12.3. Now that we know sides and one angle, we can use law of sines to find one of the other angles, and then we just subtract that sum from 180 to get the total. So using the law of sines, and based on a over sine of a, because we have angle A, a over sine of a, which is 12.3 over sine of 120, is equal to, and you pick which side you want to get, B or C first, doesn't matter. Let's do B. We'll do B over sine of B, and we know B is 9, so that would be 9 over sine of B. And what we have to do is we have to solve this for B. So we can cross multiply and then divide. So when we cross multiply this, we have 12.3 sine of B is equal to 9 sine of 120, and then we have to divide by 12.3. That cancels, so sine of B is equal to 9 sine of 120 over 12.3, and now we have to get B by itself, so we have to take the inverse of sine, and that's called arcsine, or sine to the negative 1. So B equals sine to the negative 1 times 9 sine of 120 over 12.3. Punching that in on the calculator, angle B is 39.3 degrees. And so we know angle A is 120, so our angle C is going to be 180 minus 120 plus 39.3. So angle C is going to be 20.7. So now we have solved everything for this triangle. The last piece is if you are trying to find the area and you're given three sides of a triangle. How do we find, first we have to find an angle, then once we find an angle we can find the area. So how do we find the angle? We have to use the law of cosines, but we solve for the angle. So let's pick an angle. In this case we'll do A. So for the law of cosines, a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of A. So we fill in what we know. The only thing we don't know is that angle A on the right. So 4 squared is equal to 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 I don't know what happened to my monitor here. 2 times 7 times 9 times cosine of A. And the A is the only thing we don't know. So now we have to rearrange this so that we have A by itself. So what we're going to do first is to take the 7 squared and 9 squared and subtract it from both sides. So we have 4 squared minus 7 squared minus 9 squared. And that would leave us on the right side minus 2 times 7 times 9 cosine of A. And then this is a multiplication event here. We have multiplication, so we will divide this by that. So we have to do it on both sides in order to get rid of it. So that goes away. So cosine of A is equal to 4 squared minus 7 squared minus 9 squared over minus 2, 7, and 9. But the last piece of the puzzle is to get A by itself. So we have to take the inverse of cosine, which is arc cosine, or cosine of the negative 1. So our last piece of this problem is cosine negative 1 will be 4 squared minus 7 squared minus 9 squared over minus 2 times 7 times 9. And of course, inverse on the right means the cosine goes away, so that gives us our angle. Make sure when you punch this in the calculator that you calculate the numerator and you calculate the denominator before you punch it in, or it will not work. But once you do the second cosine, inverse cosine, angle A is going to be 25.2. And then once we know angle A, now we can go to our formula, K equals 1/2 BC sine A, and solve for K. And why do we use sine A? Because that's the only angle we know is sine of 25.2. So B is 7, C is 9, so let's fill in what we know. Sine of 25.2. So when we calculate that, our answer is 13.4. So the units squared, so the area of that triangle is approximately 13.4 units.